Truett Cathy says the question he is asked most often is, how did you do it? How did you grow from the operator of a mom and pop diner to founder and CEO of a chain of nearly 1,400 restaurants? At the heart of the answer lies a proverb that Truett Cathy memorized when he was 8 years old. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver or gold. And that's Proverbs 22:1. Welcome to Purpose Builders Podcast. My name is Julie Cecilia, and this podcast is meant to be straight to the point, no extra stuff, just reading books on how successful entrepreneurs kept God in their lives and businesses. So today we'll be reading How Did You Do It, Truett, which is a personal account by Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A. Cathy says, oftentimes when we experience success at Chick-fil-A, I pat myself on the back and congratulate myself for the accomplishment. But then I have to remind myself, Truett, you didn't do it. God did it, along with high-quality people at Chick-fil-A who have great ideas and work extremely hard to make the business successful, and our loyal fans who are just as important to our success. So here, this serves as a reminder that true success is not just about profit, but about glorifying God, serving others, and leading with humility. Truett Cathy lived during the Great Depression, so financial success meant just making a living. If you had a regular income, you were considered a wealthy person. Truett Cathy was not the smartest in his class. He was a C student, and since he was young, he liked the idea of building something and owning it. And this was actually a common mentality in the 1940s, and this generation was called the Greatest Generation. So an NBC News anchor actually interviewed dozens of people to write The Greatest Generation, and a lot of them said in the interview, I just did what I had to do. They didn't dream big dreams. They didn't set out to become heroes or create the greatest economic expansion the world has ever seen. They simply just took care of their families and themselves, built with quality, and tried to look out for their neighbors. Truett also said, they remind themselves every day that the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich is really a simple concept. They took advantage of their biggest opportunities when they keep it simple, focus on serving great tasting food in a clean, wholesome environment with great customer service. There's also some quotes from Truett's children and some of his employees, and one of the quotes from his son was, the approach from his dad was that he doesn't plan long term because he likes to take advantage of unexpected opportunities. If he's overcommitted on his resources, he can't respond to those opportunities. So he's basically saying planning is important, but overcommitting can limit flexibility. So entrepreneurs should maintain resources and capacity to take advantage of unexpected opportunities. Truett Cathy says, we all know that the scorecard of any business is the profit it produces. Without profit, we cannot take care of our employees, our families, or contribute to the betterment of our communities. The question is, how do we balance the pursuit of profit and personal character? For me, I find that balance by applying biblical principles. I see no conflict between biblical principles and good business practice. So Truett did his best and then trusted God with the rest. So Truett Cathy actually owned a restaurant for 21 years before Chick-fil-A called Dwarf House Employees. And one of the Dwarf House employees from the 1940s and 50s, his name was Eddie White. He said this about Truett Cathy. He said, Truett did everything from preparing food to washing dishes to scrubbing floors. It was a small operation and Mr. Cathy was there every day. I was impressed with the manner in which he treated people. He respected us, and we respected him. And no job was too large or too small for him to do. Here, just seeing how Cathy led by example, not authority. He wasn't above scrubbing floors or washing dishes, and this set the tone for a positive work culture in Dwarf House. Employees respected him because they saw he was willing to do the hard work himself. This is just like Jesus, serving others before expecting anything in return. And Cathy really modeled this servant type of leadership in his businesses. Cathy also said, when we're fully committed to something, we're not likely to give up or be discouraged. It works in our business life as well as in our personal relationships and our relationship to Jesus Christ. When you're fully committed, you see strange and unusual things happen that otherwise wouldn't if you are not fully committed. That's been a key to my life, a key to success. When you're fully committed, you're not likely to fail. Truett also says, be kind to your customers. It's the key to success. Like the biblical commandment to love your neighbor as yourself, all the other instructions for success in the restaurant business or any business hang on this one. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Courtesy is cheap, but it pays great dividends. Courtesy begins by giving you a positive mental attitude about everything you do. You can do a lot of things short of giving away food to express hospitality, but the most important thing is to feel in your heart the desire to serve. If you really aren't interested in serving others, you don't need to be in the restaurant business in the first place. We like to say we recruit smiles. We can't teach a sour person to be joyful. Smiles are there because the heart is behind the smile. So Truett Cathy knew that real joy can't be faked. A smile that comes from a heart of services, that's what truly makes customers feel welcome and valued. And a good verse to remind yourself of this is Colossians 3:23, which is whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for masters. So in Chick-fil-A, they implemented something called second mile service. And so when customers come into a Chick-fil-A restaurant, they expect to be greeted with a smile. They expect delicious food delivered quickly in a clean environment. That was the first mile, the expectation. Second mile service is about the heart, and it goes above and beyond the requirements, making sure customers get not only what they expect, but something more that makes them say, wow. A good connection to this is Matthew 5:41, where it says, if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. And Jesus really taught this principle of going beyond what is required, serving with a willing and joyful heart. The second mile isn't an obligation. It's a choice to serve with excellence. Perry Ragsdale, who was the senior vice president of Chick-fil-A, said, Truett's goal is to be a good steward, to give. That's reflected in our corporate purpose. That's his focus. So Truett Cathy, he didn't see business as just making money. He saw it as a responsibility to use resources wisely. So Chick-fil-A's corporate purpose is broken down into 2 main parts, which is to glorify God by being a faithful steward of all that is entrusted to us, and to have a positive influence on all who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. Very good corporate purpose. Truett also said, I had to ask myself, what is the meaning of business ethics? I concluded that there is really no such thing as business ethics. There is only personal ethics. I believe no amount of business school training or work experience can teach what is ultimately a matter of personal character. Businesses are not dishonest or selfish, people are. Thus, a business, successful or not, is merely a reflection of the character of its leadership. So Truett here is saying a business is only as ethical as its leaders. Character determines culture. And he understood that a company's culture and values, those are mirrored from their leaders of the company. Truett said, we should ask ourselves what's important and what's not important. When you live by your convictions, people respect that. It's important to be consistent in living your convictions. You don't have to ask me, how did you do it, Truett, when it comes to maintaining a good reputation? Everybody knows the answer to that question. God gives each of us the answer in our hearts. We know what is right and what is wrong. When we choose the right thing, our reputation is enhanced. I was fortunate to have grown up in a time when public schools reinforced the understanding God gives us all. So Truett really understood that reputation it's not a mystery. It is built through consistent right choices. His belief was that God places a moral compass in all of our hearts that aligns with both business wisdom and the biblical truth. And a strong reputation, it's not something you figure out later. It is the natural result of living with integrity, honesty, and faithfulness, which is what Truett is trying to say here. Truett's son said, Dad's love of people is a great motivator. We need to nurture and care for that perspective. Sometimes we allow our egos to get overinflated, and we need to relate back to Dad's mindset, which is to glorify God, not praise ourselves, and to put others before ourselves. So it was Truett Cathy, his love for people, that was the driving force behind his leadership philosophy at Chick-fil-A. For him, employees weren't just workers, they were valued individuals, and that's what created the positive work environment that motivated Chick-fil-A to excel. One of Truett's employees said, Truett is an extremely good delegator. He didn't give me any instructions. He did tell me, I want you to help me open restaurants and see that they stay open. The emphasis was on stay open. That sank in. Anybody can open a restaurant. All it takes is money. But keeping one open is what makes the difference. If you open each restaurant knowing you can't just close them if they don't work out, you'd be more careful about how you build them, where you build them, and who you put in there to run them. It's extremely good business strategy to think in those terms. So here, Truett is just showing how he was focused on the vision, and that's what empowered others to, and he just empowered others to execute it. And another one of Truett's employees said, Truett communicates his passion not with memos and policy manuals, but with the stories he tells. He is a terrific storyteller, and he knows how to use those stories to communicate a message of quality. So here, people remember stories, not rules. The senior vice president of operations at Chick-fil-A, his name was Tim Tassopoulos. He said, Truett doesn't see Chick-fil-A as a platform for his faith. He applies faith principles to the business. Many entrepreneurs I've been involved with exert too much direct control on the organization. A lot of times you get the impression people are afraid to tell the owner the real truth. They're afraid of the owner's reaction. It's difficult to disagree with a tyrant. The consequences can be severe. But with Truett Cathy, there is none of that. We don't disagree often, but I feel completely relaxed when I take an exactly opposite viewpoint from him. It's always a respectful disagreement. You relate to him the same way he relates to you, with love, appreciation, and respect. He respects you, and you feel it. You sense it. That is very different from many people in power. You may experience their tolerance, but not their respect. With Truett Cathy, you feel his respect, even if he absolutely disagrees. And just to reiterate, Chick-fil-A's corporate purpose, which is to glorify God by being a faithful steward of all that is entrusted to us, and to have a positive influence on all who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. Truett said, by living out this corporate purpose long before it was ever written down or thought of in those terms, these are the two guiding principles, which are the foundation of the business. And that concludes episode 1 of Purpose Builders Podcast. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed this book, and stay tuned for the next one. Thank you.